Ciao a tutti e benvenuti a lezione 2. Thank you all for stopping in for our next Italian lesson. Before we begin, we are going to review the homework that was assigned in class 2 weeks ago, the essere and stare worksheet. So first we'll quickly review the difference between essere and stare. Again, essere is to describe what a person is, whereas stare is how they are. Here we have two charts. These are the conjugations of each one. We have io sono, I am, tu sei, lui lei è, he or she, noi siamo, we are, voi siete, y'all are, and loro sono. Over in stare we have io sto, tu stai, lui and lei sta, noi stiamo, voi state, and loro stanno. If you haven't had the chance to copy down these charts from last class, feel free to pause the video and use it. If you haven't done the homework assignment, you can do that assignment with us as we follow along through the review on the next slide. These are the questions that were assigned. We're going to decide whether or not to use essere or stare for each of these blanks, and then we are going to conjugate it for the person that is being referred to. In the first, we have I am well. Describing the status of how somebody is, we use stare. And for I am, we say io sto bene. 2, he is handsome and tall. Lui, we're going to use essere because handsome and tall describe him, not necessarily his state. So we will say the third person of essere, lui è. And here you see I have bello ed alto. Bello meaning handsome, alto meaning tall. Before I've used e, just the letter e, it's pronounced e, to mean and. And here I have ed. It still means and. It is just a stylistic choice that many Italians use when you have just the word and before a word with a vowel. They like to just break that up a little bit. So ed alto. You can also make it say bello e alto, handsome and tall. It's just a stylistic choice that helps the listener. So it varies from speaker to speaker. But everyone in Italy will understand that they both mean the same thing. How are you? This is a question asked commonly when meeting somebody. We're asking about their present state, emotional or physical. So we're going to stare and conjugate that for you. How are you? Come meaning how, and stai meaning you are. Come stai? How are you? Number 4, is she shy? Shy is not necessarily an answer to how are you feeling today. It's usually a character trait. Somebody usually is or is not shy. In this case, we'll use lei for she. And the third person of essere, è, timida, meaning shy. And the way that you can sort of structure these questions, lei è timida, you just kind of have that inflection at the end to make it sound like a question. Because if you just say it like a sentence, lei è timida, that's just a statement. So the statement and the question are both structured the same linguistically. You just have that inflection on the end when asking a question. Another way that a question can be marked is somebody might say, lei è timida, no? Or lei è timida, vero? Is that true? But for the most part, they will just structure it the same as a statement and use that question inflection that's natural when asking a question in English as well. Number 5, they are angry. Loro arrabbiati. So they can either be angry, how are you feeling today? Oh, I'm upset, Or you can be an angry person altogether. So with this one, either works, but they both need to be conjugated for loro. And this is a typo here. It should say loro stanno or loro sono. Loro sono arrabbiati. Those would both be conjugated for loro. So either answer would be correct, either stanno or sono, not loro. Number 6, are we sad or happy? Sad or happy? Again, that could be either. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling sad. How are you today? I'm happy. Or you could say he's a sad person, she's a happy person. So in this case, it can be either. Noi stiamo or siamo. And again, we got this here, triste o felice, o meaning or. I told you before, when referring to somebody in a respectful manner, calling somebody sir or madam, they are called lei. It's the word for she, but in this respectful manner, the L in lei will be capitalized. So this is the same as we were saying before, come stai, but you're asking somebody politely, somebody who's either an elder or somebody that you work for. You would say, come sta lei. And adding that lei also kind of notes that it is that respectful manner. If you say come sta, people will think you're talking about a third person. But if you say come sta lei, they know that they're being spoken to directly. Number 8, we are lost. Lost is not like a emotional or health status. You would use essere for being lost. So we'll conjugate that for noi. That would be noi siamo perduti. We are lost. Howdy, y'all. Again, this is like come stai, how are you? But we are talking to voi, meaning y'all, speaking directly to a group. We'll use stare again and conjugate that for voi. That would be state. Come state voi? Are you sick? Again, this is asking somebody's health status. And we're talking to two, somebody directly. We would use stare for somebody's health condition. Just like asking how somebody is, you could say tu stai malato, malato meaning sick. Number 11, y'all are crazy. Again, crazy or like or like being insane. That's seen as a character trait, not necessarily as a health state or as a emotional state. So it's voi siete pazzi. Voi siete pazzi. Again, coming from essere. And finally, I am feeling so-so. Again, when it comes to feeling, we're going to use stare. The first person, io sto, così. Così means like this. So I'm feeling like this. That's how they say so-so in Italian. All right, thank you for following along and checking your homework. I hope everybody made a good effort. If you made some mistakes, that's okay. Just putting in that effort is what's important. Ahead of us today, we have we just have one journal entry for this lesson. It's going to be a very technical lesson. I had a lot more planned, but I really want to make sure that this building block is really built before we start moving forward with creating sentences and sentence structure. We talked earlier about the pronoun structure in Italian being very complex. They also have very complex pluralization and object pronouns as well. So we will be getting into that. We're going to do essentially 3 charts and an exercise after each chart. We're going to work on pluralization first, and that'll help us kind of decipher what to do with the object pronouns. So, a regular pluralization. Um, in Italian, nouns are either masculine or feminine, and just like in English, they can either be singular or plural. With masculine singular nouns, they either end in O or E, and they both change to I when plural. Feminine nouns either end in A or E, and to pluralize those, the nouns that end in A would be changed to an E. The nouns that end in E will be changed to I. Um, when a noun ends in an O, it's almost always going to be masculine. When a noun ends in an A, it's almost always going to be feminine. When it ends in an E, it could really, there really is no rule for that. You just have to memorize which is which. It's difficult and annoying, but it is how their language is structured. If you mess up the gender of a noun, it's usually okay. Italians will understand. Um, they won't get upset over it. They'll likely politely correct you. But it is important to understand that that's part of their language. After we copy this down, we are going to use this information, these changes, O to I, E to I, A to E, and E to I. We're going to use that to pluralize a few nouns in this next exercise. Pause if you need to, and we'll move on to the exercise. Oh, sorry, before we move on, I also want you to please add these notes as well. Regular plurals do not double up their vowels at the end. So if you have a masculine singular noun such as okio, like I, that will become pluralized as oki, eyes. So it wouldn't be okii, it would just be oki. You just drop the O. There are a lot of words in Italian that are borrowed from other languages, and those, like, such as bar. Bar is an English word. So if you want to go out to a bar, you ask, usciamo a un bar? Should we go out to a bar? Or if you want to pluralize it, you would say, usciamo andare I bar, the bars. And so even though the object pronoun will change to pluralize, the noun itself remains the same. There's also some words that end in an accented vowel. That would be like cafe or like città. And the same thing, they're not going to be pluralized, the noun itself, just the object pronouns. All right, so let's get into the exercise of pluralization. Our first word here, we have tegola, meaning tile. It ends in an A, so that tells us it's likely a feminine singular noun. And to pluralize a feminine singular noun, make it a feminine plural noun, we're going to change that A to an E. So one tile is tegola, many tiles would be tegole. Here we have gatto, meaning cat. This is a masculine singular noun. Ends in an O. That O is going to change to an I. And it is going to form the word gatti, cats. This word, martello, means hammer, and it is a masculine singular, just as the last one. That O is going to change to an I. So many hammers would be martelli. Here we have donna, meaning woman. Feminine singular, ends in an A. That A is going to change to an E, forming the word donne, meaning women. A singular cut or slice, that could be something that is cut. If a tile's been cut, you say, hand me that cut. If you need somebody to make several cuts, or if you want to order many slices of pizza, you would change that talio. Again, we don't double up, so we just drop that O to tali. Talio becomes tali. Here we've got a noun that ends in an E, kane, meaning dog, and it is a masculine singular. So in instances like these where you've got an E at the end, I will do my best to annotate that as using these parentheses, MS being masculine singular. That way you know that kane is going to be pluralized. That E, just like as it does with feminine singular, will change to an I. So kane becomes kani, dogs. Here we have a feminine singular noun, chiave, meaning key. And just like that other one that ended in an E that was masculine, same with feminine, the E is going to change to an I. So it's chiavi for keys. A purse or a bag is una borsa. That A indicates that it is a feminine singular, and that A is going to change to an E to form the word borse, purses or bags. Here we have a bucket. That would be secchio. And just like talio, we don't double up, we don't make it secchi. It's just secchi. We drop the O for a masculine singular. Secchio becomes secchi. Buckets. We have another masculine singular noun that ends with an E. The E changes to an I. So one flower is un fiore, and several flowers, or two flowers, for example, would be due fiori. This one is interesting. Please take note of it. Pay careful attention. You've got this word tasca, meaning pocket, and it is a feminine singular noun. So it ends in an A, so we're going to change that A to an E. But if you remember our pronunciation guide, if we change that A to an E, we're actually changing the sound that the SC makes. So if we change it to an E, it would no longer be tasque, it would be tashe. So we want to actually preserve that hard k sound, the bass sound of this word. So to create that, to maintain that hard k sound from the C, we're going to add in an H. So tasca will be tasque. Tasque. So the spelling changes. There's that added H. Again, the H's are silent. They just modify the other sounds. Tasque, pockets. We've got finally gelato, meaning ice cream. This is a masculine singular noun. We're going to change that O to an I. Many ice creams would be gelati. Very good. I appreciate your patience, hard work, and dedication. Next, we'll be moving on to indirect object pronouns. We have these in English. We just say a or an. There are a few more in Italian, as you can see, and they follow some different rules. A or an, we just do the difference of is the next letter a consonant or a vowel. In Italian, these are our rules. For masculine nouns, we would say un, and then if the next letter is a consonant or a vowel, we use un, or we'll use uno. Uno is used when a word starts with a Z, or if the next word starts with an S and a consonant. For feminine indirect object pronouns, we just say una with a consonant or un with a vowel. This is pronounced the same as un masculine, but it has this little apostrophe here. They use that apostrophe and it's butted up to the next word. It's all thrown together to sound like one word. So we'll copy this chart here, and we'll use the information from this chart here for our next exercise. Hopefully you can make a little bit more sense of this. So here we have giardino, meaning garden. Giardino is a masculine singular, as you can see with the O ending. It does not start with a Z, it does not start with an S and a consonant, so we're going to use un. So a garden is un giardino. Next we have amico, a male friend. Again, this is masculine singular, and it does not start with a Z or S and a consonant. So we are going to use un, just like we did with the last time. Un amico. Now here we have that difference we were talking about earlier with the feminine versus masculine. We have amica, meaning female friend. You would actually use a different article with feminine nouns that begin with a vowel. You have un with that apostrophe. So it's un'amica. So here's that difference. For a male friend, it's un amico. And for a female friend, it's un'amica. You say it like it's one word, but you have that apostrophe in there. There would be no space between the apostrophe and the A, just un'amica. All right, next we have a backpack or knapsack is zaino. Now that has an O at the end that indicates that it's likely a masculine singular noun. And as we saw in our chart earlier for these indirect object pronouns, a masculine singular noun that starts with a Z or S and a consonant is not going to use un, it's going to use uno. Uno zaino, a backpack. Here we have a skirt, gonna. Feminine singular ends in an A, and it starts with a consonant. So that is going to be una gonna, a skirt. Here we have squalo, meaning shark. That's also the Italian translated title of the movie Jaws. They just call it shark. This is a masculine singular. You can see with that O ending. And here we have S and a consonant. So like the Z, we're going to use uno. Uno squalo, a shark. Here we have man, uomo. This is masculine singular, ends in O. And with masculine singular, it doesn't matter if it starts with a consonant or a vowel. If it doesn't start with an S and a consonant or a Z, you're just going to use un. Un uomo. Here we have donna, a word we used earlier. Feminine singular, starts with a consonant, so we're going to use una. Una donna, a woman. Here we have one of those nouns that ends in an E. Here we have padre, which is masculine singular, meaning father. Does not start with a Z or S and a consonant, so we're going to use un padre, a father. Here we have the feminine singular madre, meaning mother. So even though these end with the same letter, they have different genders. So we're going to use the feminine indirect object pronoun for madre, and it's not a vowel, It's just a consonant, so we're going to use una. Una madre. Here we have opera, which of course just means opera. Feminine, singular, but begins with a vowel. So we're going to use, like we did with amica here, un with the apostrophe. It's going to be one word. Un'opera. Un'opera. And finally, we've got stagione, meaning season. Feminine singular, we've got the S and then the consonant, but it doesn't matter because it's feminine. Feminine is just decided, is there a vowel or a consonant? So we're going to do what we did like with madre, and it's going to be una stagione. That S and consonant rule is only for the masculine, like squalo over here, shark, or specchio, which is a mirror. Good work. I know that was a little tough using these different forms. Just be sure to continue referencing the chart that we copied down earlier as you learn new nouns. Make sure that you are taking note of their gender and how they are pluralized. Good job, everybody. All right, here we have our final chart of this lesson. These are direct object pronouns. And in English, we only have the word the. And we've got quite a bit of rules here in Italian. Again, unlike the indirect object pronouns, direct object pronouns can also be singular or plural. So we're going to start first with the masculines. Masculine singular, il, and a consonant, or L apostrophe for a vowel, l. And then we've got these rules again, the S and a consonant and the Z. We're going to use lo for those words. Lo. Be sure to copy these so that you can follow along with the next exercise. We've got the masculine plural. If the plural word starts with a consonant, we use E, letter I, E. Or if it starts with a vowel, we say li. We also use li for those S and consonant and Z words. Li. Can be a tough one to wrap your mouth around, but again, this becomes natural as you continue to practice. In feminine singular, we have the word la, if the word begins with a consonant, or same as the masculine, if it has the next letter is a vowel, we use that L apostrophe, l. And again, you smash it together to sound like one word. And feminine plural, lucky, easy, just always le. Le. Not lay, which means she. We say le. All right, and once we've copied this down, we are going to go on to our final exercise of the lesson. All right, so we are looking at the direct object pronoun for cane. Again, this is masculine, this is singular. It's a consonant, but it's not S and a consonant or Z. So we'll say il. Il cane, the dog. We pluralize that. Cane becomes cani, dogs. It's masculine, it's plural. That il, when you have a consonant here, will become I. I cani, the dogs. Amica, a female friend. That is going to be a female, that's going to be a feminine noun, amica, and it begins with a vowel. So we're going to do that L apostrophe and make it sound like one word. L'amica. L'amica. Here we have uomo, saw earlier, means man. This is a masculine singular. You can tell by that O. And it begins with a vowel. So just like the feminine, when it has that vowel after it, you're going to do the L apostrophe, but make it sound like one word. So uomo is man, but the man would be l'uomo. L'uomo. Here we've got feminine singular, stagione. Starts with a consonant, is feminine. So it's going to be la stagione, the season. We have once again zaino, meaning backpack. There's a masculine singular. But wait, starts with a Z. So the Z rule, it's going to have the direct object pronoun of lo. Lo zaino, the backpack. If we pluralize that, so we want to say the backpacks instead, we're actually going to change that pronoun from lo and zaino. Once it's pluralized to zaini, it is masculine plural, and it starts with that Z, so the rule tells us that it would be li. Again, li zaini. Li zaini. The backpacks. Next we have women, donne. That is feminine plural. And that always, feminine plural is going to be le. Le donne. Le donne. The women. Here we have animali. This is a masculine plural word, and it begins with a vowel. So one plural and beginning with a vowel. Like the S and consonant and like the Z, we're going to use li. Gli animali. Gli animali abitano allo zoo. They live at the zoo. Now, if we look at that animale, when it's singular, has that E on the end, but it's still masculine and has a vowel. Masculine, singular, vowel. What we're going to use is l. L'animale. Sounds like one word. L'animale. Here we have a feminine singular noun, moda, meaning fashion or style. Has a consonant, so we're going to use la. The style. The fashion. And finally, we're going to look at the feminine plural, chiavi. Again, feminine plural, doesn't matter what comes next. You're always going to use le. Le chiavi. Well done, everyone. I know that was possibly quite confusing. The rules have to be checked over and over and over again when learning a new word. But I appreciate everyone taking the time to learn this so that we can move forward and start creating some sentences. Not the most exciting lesson this week, but it is very important. These are all really important tools for the future. So your homework for the next 2 weeks is to once again rewatch this video and make flashcards of irregular plurals, which I will be showing on the next slide. Our next class is in person, Saturday, April 4th. We'll be meeting again at 10 a.m. at the Leading Library Conference Room. And our presenter will be Mike. He is going to be sharing about history and influential people of Bologna. All right. We're now going to take a moment and take a look at some of these irregular plurals. Feel free to pause the video, make some flashcards of these, test yourself. Many of the irregular pluralizations in Italian are body parts, but there are several other exceptions. There's a lot of rules in Italian, and there's a lot of rule breakers as well. Something that I didn't quite touch up on earlier, but this is an important one here. This is probably one of the more important ones of knowing. Is if you have a word like fotografia, sometimes they just say photo. So that word photo ends in an O, but it's actually a shortening of fotografia, which has the feminine singular A ending. There are a few other nouns that will do that. So the more that you know, the less surprising they'll be when you encounter them. Thanks everybody again. Keep working hard, and looking forward to the next class. Ciao, ciao.